Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, privatizing Midway Airport. The nation's largest public pension fund, CalPERS, just bought a piece of London's Gatwick Airport for $155 million. It's a sign that big investors are interested in airports again. That's good news for Mayor Richard Daley, who still hopes to lease Midway Airport after last year's deal fell apart mainly because of the financial crisis. Crain's John Pletz wrote about this for this week's print edition of Crain's, and I sat down to talk with him about it. So, John, how significant is this move by CalPERS for Gatwick Airport? What does it mean for Midway?
Well, it's a big deal. CalPERS is as blue chip as they come, and that signals that all sorts of investors are ready to look at airport deals again.
So how badly does the city need to privatize Midway? After all, the city's in much worse financial shape than it was when it first started shopping Midway around a few years ago.
Well, the city definitely needs more money, but there's going to be a real question and a real battle, frankly, over whether you should privatize Midway to fill budget gaps or if you should privatize Midway because you want to do some other capital spending and not have to go to the debt market.
And what do you think is the likely outcome?
Ultimately, they will want to privatize Midway. I think they're going to have a much more difficult time politically doing it, given what we've seen with the parking meter deal. You know, there's going to be a lot of questions from the council about, are you getting the most for your money? What's it going to be used for? And I think they're going to ask for a lot more input.
Do you think the mayor can get this done? I mean, how likely is it? What are people saying? Would this happen within this year?
It's not clear that it'll happen yet this year. There's an elections coming up next spring, so it may get pushed off till then. But certainly, the mayor can get it done if he wants to get it done, but he is going to have to use some political capital to do it.
So let's go back a little bit, a little history lesson. Why the deal fell apart last year? Was it mainly just because of the financial crisis?
Yes, it was purely financial. They had done the deal, gotten it put together, and by the time the bidders went to the market for secondary investors, the appetite was just gone. And that's why the CalPERS investment is so important, because those are the sort of investors you need or you want if you're going to try and pull off this kind of transaction.
Any names being talked about potential investors that might step up to the plate now?
Probably some of the original investors, but beyond that, no, nobody's talking specifics at this point.
This Gatwick Airport investment on the part of CalPERS is really kind of an opening of the door ever so slightly to starting to talk about this again.
There's a lot of reasons to pay attention to Gatwick. Not only do you have the kinds of investors like CalPERS, like South Korea's pension fund, like the government of Abu Dhabi, also it's a kind of airport. Gatwick is a secondary airport in London. It's a lot like Midway, so there's a lot of reason to think that this bodes well for Midway.
Okay, John, well, we'll see how this all turns out. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. For more on this story, be sure to check out this week's print edition of Crain's or chicagobusiness.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.